License and registration now. Officer Jason Miller yanked open the door of the black Mercedes, grabbing Dr. Vanessa Roberts by her arm and pulling her toward the edge of the vehicle. How does someone like you afford a car like this? He sneered, his body camera catching every word as he pushed her against the driver's side door, causing her briefcase and phone to scatter across the rain-soaked pavement. Have you ever witnessed someone make a judgment so wrong that the moment of realization changed everything in an instant? The alarm chimed softly in Colonel Vanessa Roberts' bedroom. At 43, she maintained the disciplined schedule that had carried her through 22 years of military service and 2 combat deployments. She silenced the alarm and moved quietly to avoid waking her teenage son, Marcus, who was still asleep down the hall. The coffee machine gurgled in her kitchen as NPR played quietly in the background. A report about military funding for veterans' healthcare caught her attention as she adjusted her uniform in front of the small mirror near her refrigerator. As one of the highest-ranking Black female officers in the Air Force and the new commander of the 33rd Medical Group at Patterson Air Force Base, Dr. Roberts took pride in her appearance. Her phone buzzed with a message from General Williams. Looking forward to your presentation at the Pentagon next week. The Joint Chiefs are excited about your trauma care protocols. Mom, did you sign my permission slip for the science trip? Marcus called from upstairs, interrupting her thoughts. It's in your backpack, honey. I signed it last night, she replied, sipping her coffee from a mug that read, Best Mom in the World. Mark's gift from last Mother's Day? Colonel Roberts' dress uniform hung pressed and ready for today's promotion ceremony, where she would be recognizing several officers under her command. Her numerous medals and decorations reflected a distinguished career: 2 Bronze Stars, a Purple Heart from her time in Afghanistan, and various commendations for her groundbreaking work in battlefield medicine. The wall near her desk held family photos alongside her diplomas from Howard University Medical School and her certifications in trauma surgery. A picture of her late husband, Captain James Roberts, killed in action 8 years ago, held the place of honor. She touched it briefly before gathering her things. Her neighbor, Mr. Peterson, waved as she checked the mail before heading to her car. Morning, Colonel. Thanks for helping my wife last weekend when she fell. Your medical advice was spot on. Just being a good neighbor, Vanessa smiled warmly. She climbed into her black Mercedes, a car she had purchased after receiving a substantial inheritance following her father's passing last year. The car represented both a tribute to him and a reward for her years of service. The custom license plate read DRLTCAL, a nod to both her medical and military titles. Today, she would take the scenic route to the base, driving through Oak Lane to stop at her favorite bakery to pick up pastries for her staff. The neighborhood was upscale, predominantly white, and rarely saw military personnel in uniform. On the car's Bluetooth, she was discussing final details with her assistant about the day's ceremony. Major Chen, please make sure the photographers will be there by 10 a.m. The general wants these promotions highlighted in next month's Air Force Times. Colonel Roberts was just ending her call when she noticed flashing lights behind her. She carefully pulled her Mercedes to the side of the road, confused about why she was being stopped. She had been driving exactly at the speed limit, as was her habit. Officer Jason Miller, 34 years old, 8 years on the force, approached with his hand resting on his holster. His body camera was recording, but his dashboard camera had conveniently been reported as malfunctioning for the past 3 weeks. As she rolled down her window, Officer Miller shined his flashlight directly into her eyes, despite the morning daylight. License and registration, he demanded without explanation, his tone immediately aggressive. May I ask why I'm being stopped, officer? Colonel Roberts asked calmly, reaching slowly for her glove compartment. We've had reports of drug trafficking in this neighborhood involving luxury vehicles, Miller said, eyeing her car suspiciously. Where'd you get a car like this? I purchased it last year after my father passed away, she replied evenly, handing over her license and registration. Miller barely glanced at the documents. Step out of the vehicle. Officer, I don't understand what... I said, get out of the car now. His voice rose sharply as his hand moved closer to his weapon. A couple walking their dog slowed down to watch. The woman pulled out her phone and began recording. Another car driving by pulled over, the driver also beginning to film the interaction. Colonel Roberts carefully opened her door, her uniform still concealed by her long overcoat. "Officer, I'm running late for a military ceremony. If you could please—" "Hands where I can see them," Miller interrupted, grabbing her arm as soon as she stepped out. "How does someone like you afford a car like this? What do you do for a living?" The implication in his tone was clear. "I'm a physician and an Air Force officer," she responded firmly. "Yeah, right," Miller scoffed. "And I'm the Secretary of Defense." He pushed her against the car, causing her briefcase to fall, spilling papers onto the wet pavement. Her phone clattered to the ground, the screen cracking against the curb. "Stand still while I run your information," he ordered, returning to his patrol car with her license. A small crowd had begun to gather. 3 people were now openly recording the incident on their phones. One woman had started a Facebook live stream that was quickly gathering viewers, first 50, then 200, then 500, in just minutes. When Miller returned, his expression had changed slightly, a flicker of uncertainty crossing his face as he glanced at her license again. "Your license says Dr. Vanessa Roberts, but you don't look like a doctor to me," he said, his voice still confrontational, but with a new edge of doubt. "I'm a board-certified trauma surgeon and a lieutenant colonel in the United States Air Force," she stated clearly, making sure her voice was caught on the bystanders' recordings. "I'm currently the commander of the 33rd Medical Group at Patterson Air Force Base, and I'm late for a promotion ceremony where I'm the presiding officer." "Anyone can make claims," Miller retorted, but his confidence was visibly wavering. "What's in the briefcase? Open it." Another patrol car pulled up, and Officer Sarah Chen stepped out, approaching the scene with caution. "What's going on here, Miller?" she asked, looking between her colleague and Colonel Roberts. "Possible stolen vehicle, suspicious subject," Miller replied. "She claims to be some kind of military doctor." Officer Chen frowned. "Did you check her ID properly?" "It's probably fake," Miller insisted, but his voice lacked conviction now. The Facebook Live viewer count had reached 2,000. Comments were flooding in, many questioning the officer's actions. "Open your coat," Miller demanded suddenly. Colonel Roberts took a deep breath and slowly unbuttoned her overcoat. As Colonel Roberts removed her coat, the full dress uniform of an Air Force lieutenant colonel was revealed, immaculately pressed blue fabric adorned with numerous medals and ribbons that told the story of a distinguished military career. The silver oak leaf insignia on her shoulders gleamed in the morning light. Miller froze completely, his face draining of color. Officer Chen's eyes widened. "Oh my God," she whispered. The crowd gasped collectively. Someone shouted, "She's a colonel." The Facebook Live viewer count jumped to 8,000 as people began sharing the stream. Miller's radio suddenly crackled to life. "Officer Miller, this is Captain Reynolds. Is your body camera on?" Miller swallowed hard. "Yes, Captain. We're receiving multiple calls about your current stop, including one from the Patterson Air Force Base Commander's office. Is the subject a Lieutenant Colonel Vanessa Roberts?" "Yes, sir," Miller stammered. "Officer Miller," the captain's voice was steel, "you are currently detaining the commander of the 33rd Medical Group, a decorated combat veteran and the Pentagon's advisor on battlefield trauma protocols. The base commander and 3 JAG officers are en route to your location. I suggest you modify your approach immediately." The crowd had fallen silent, all eyes on Miller as he visibly processed the information. The Facebook Live count now showed 15,000 viewers. Colonel Roberts stood tall in her full uniform, her expression calm but resolute. "Officer, I'd appreciate the return of my identification so I can proceed to my duties." 3 military police vehicles pulled up to the scene, lights flashing. 2 Air Force officers in dress uniform emerged, followed by a civilian in a suit who immediately identified himself as a JAG Corps attorney. "Colonel Roberts, are you all right?" asked Major James Wilson, saluting her crisply. "I'm fine, Major," she replied, returning the salute. Captain Reynolds from the local police department arrived simultaneously, practically running from his car to the scene. "Colonel Roberts, on behalf of the Oak Ridge Police Department, I want to extend our sincerest apologies." The JAG attorney, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Hernandez, was already taking statements from witnesses and collecting contact information from those who had recorded the incident. "Officer Miller," Captain Reynolds said, his voice tight with controlled anger, "surrender your weapon and badge to Officer Chen immediately. You're placed on administrative leave pending a full investigation." Miller's hands shook as he complied, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. This incident will be thoroughly investigated under both departmental policies and federal civil rights statutes, Captain Reynolds announced, loud enough for the cameras to catch. Major Wilson approached with a tablet. Captain, we've already accessed your department database. Officer Miller has 23 prior complaints for racial profiling and excessive force in the past 5 years. None resulted in disciplinary action. The crowd had grown to nearly 40 people. 2 local news vans had arrived, reporters rushing toward the scene with microphones and cameras. Officer Jason Miller, Captain Reynolds stated formally, "You are being investigated for civil rights violations, abuse of authority, excessive force, and violation of department policies regarding probable cause and professional conduct." Miller's face had gone completely pale. He looked like he might be sick. "Sir, please, I didn't know who she was," he pleaded. Colonel Roberts spoke up, her voice carrying clearly to all the cameras. "And that's precisely the problem, Officer Miller. No citizen should be treated this way, regardless of their rank or position." The base commander had arrived, now a full colonel, who immediately conferred with Colonel Roberts before addressing Captain Reynolds. "This incident will be reported to the Department of Defense's Civil Rights Division," he stated firmly. "We expect full cooperation with their investigation." 3 months later, the federal courthouse was packed as the verdict was announced. Officer Jason Miller was found guilty of civil rights violations and abuse of authority. His sentence, 3 years in federal prison and permanent revocation of his law enforcement certification. Others, the judge's statement was unequivocal. "Your actions demonstrate a pattern of discriminatory behavior that has no place in modern policing. The evidence from your own body camera and department records shows this was not an isolated incident, but a persistent abuse of authority." 6 months later, Colonel Roberts stood at a podium in Washington, D.C. as the Secretary of Defense announced the implementation of the Roberts Protocol for law enforcement interactions with military personnel and civilians, a new set of accountability measures being adopted nationwide. Under Colonel Roberts' leadership, this initiative has created a bridge between military and civilian law enforcement that emphasizes dignity, respect, and proper procedure, the secretary stated. In just 6 months of pilot implementation, we've seen complaints decrease by 71% in participating jurisdictions, community trust metrics have improved by 64%, and we've identified and removed 37 officers with problematic records, while recognizing 142 officers who exemplify our new standards. Screens behind them displayed the statistics and testimonials from both community members and police officers about improved interactions. Meanwhile, in a minimum security federal prison, Jason Miller watched the press conference on a common room television wearing an orange jumpsuit. His wife had filed for divorce the previous month, and his pension had been revoked. 1 year later, Colonel Roberts, now promoted to full colonel, sat in her Pentagon office surrounded by awards and recognition for her dual contributions to military medicine and law enforcement reform. A framed photo showed her shaking hands with the president after testifying before Congress about the Roberts Protocol now being implemented in police departments across the country. Her phone rang. It was the Surgeon General calling about her nomination to lead a new federal initiative combining healthcare access and justice reform. Marcus popped his head into her office. "Mom, don't forget my graduation ceremony tonight." She smiled warmly. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, honey." Later that evening, Colonel Roberts drove past the spot where she had been profiled a year earlier. The city had established a new police training center there dedicated to equitable enforcement practices. A plaque commemorated the incident that had sparked nationwide change. "Don't year ago today, this location became a turning point for our community," she told reporters gathered for the anniversary. "It taught us that authority without accountability isn't justice, and that one incident can transform an entire system when we demand better." The statistics told the story. Over 950 departments nationwide had adopted the Roberts Protocol, resulting in a 52% decrease in profiling incidents and a 67% improvement in community relations with law enforcement. Have you witnessed or experienced racial profiling? Don't stay silent. Record, report, and share these incidents so we can hold everyone accountable. The Roberts Protocol has created change in nearly 1,000 police departments nationwide, but there's still work to do. Visit justicereform.org to learn how you can support anti-profiling measures in your community. Remember, real change happens when good people speak up. Share this story to show what accountability looks like. And together, we can build a justice system that truly serves everyone equally. Like and subscribe for more stories of justice prevailing, and tell us in the comments, what changes would you like to see in policing in your community?